tank of gas? Does he boots on the wood, let the whiskey pass? This is FAFO, holler it loud.
Welcome back, everybody, once again to the FAFO Podcast. And man, we've been having a lot of great conversations here lately, and I've talked to quite a few authors. Why do I do that? Because first of all, I'm an author myself, and I really love it. But second of all, I'm always amazed at how people get into the writing business from their past life and everything that goes into that, and maybe even, develops how they write. I really love that stuff because everybody has their style. And our next guest, and I know I'm going to mess his name up, and I'm going to apologize right now because I know it's coming. But I know this: the best science fiction has never really been about spaceships or aliens, right? It's about us. Today's guest has taken one of the greatest science fiction novels ever written, H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds, and asked the question, well, what happens next? His answer became The Great War of the Worlds, a series that blends military realism, political intrigue, and thought-provoking social commentary. He served in the U.S. Army, worked as a Wall Street programmer, trains dogs, and somehow makes all of those experiences come together in his writing. Please welcome, and Eric, I am sorry for butchering your name, buddy, Eric Goebelbecker. And if I can get you on the screen, we'll do it. There we go. Eric, how bad did I butcher it, by the way?
Not that bad. It's Goebelbecker.
Goebelbecker. And I probably should have asked that before we started.
Yeah.
But, just wouldn't be me if I just didn't screw it up the intro. But how are you today, man? You look good?
Thanks. I'm doing okay. I got crazy weather up here in the New York area with the rain. Lots of, you mentioned dog training. Monday night, the water was coming into the Petco. They were pushing it back out with those, the big squeegee things. And, it's the new reality.
Well, this crazy weather, man, you don't know what it's going to be from one day to the next. So speaking of the dog training, let's jump in the middle. How did you get into that?
That goes back to 2002, 2003. We had a dog. She passed away from lymphoma. I lasted about a week and said, we need another dog. We went to a local rescue, and they had two cute little black and white dogs. One of them, the female. To give you an idea of her personality, the rescue that we had gone to doesn't name the puppies. They don't want to get attached, so they don't use names. I don't remember if I drove there or met my wife and my son there from the train coming in from Manhattan, but I had a Dunkin' Donuts bag because I'm very addicted to coffee. And this little puppy attacked the bag and tore it to shreds. And I said, you should call her Caffeine. I called the rescue a week later and said, last week I saw this female black and white puppy. They go, oh, you mean Caffeine? It fit her personality so well that they actually use the name, even though they don't like to name the puppies.
That's hilarious.
Within 2 months, becoming a trainer was self-preservation.
Had to get it right, huh?
Yeah. And when you get into positive reinforcement training that's really based in science, any programmer should be looking at that like crack. It is just so addictive because it feels like programming. The way you break down training problems and solve them is the way you break down programming problems and solve them. And the school that I apprenticed at was like one of the best schools in the state. Probably 80% of the trainers there were somehow in IT.
Oh, wow.
It is the kind of hobby that an IT person would take to.
That makes sense. I mean, I guess when you look at it, and I've got 4 of these wild heathens running around this house right now. But it is funny because like they all have different personalities.
Yes, very much.
And so when you're approaching dog training, do you focus on each dog's specific personality, or is it just this is the system?
I mean, you have the curriculum. I'm teaching somebody else's school. I don't have my own business anymore. So, each in each 6-week class, I've got 5 or 6 behaviors I got to retrain. I'm going to start out with what works for 90% of dogs. And then, yes, if you're going to succeed, you're going to have to say, okay, this puppy is very distracted by the other puppies. Maybe we put up a little gate, to block the view. It's funny. Last night I had a talk with one of my mentors. We've become friends now for, God, I don't know how long. Can't be that long because that would mean I'm in my 60s. And I was talking to her about this puppy that just will not take treats. Just will not take treats. And it's now often that means the puppy is very scared, but I could tell this one is not. She's just not into food. And just before I got on the call, my wife and I had to run to the pharmacy, and I bought a box of tissues. And I'm going to throw tissues around because I think she's going to chase them. And if she likes that, I will throw a tissue as a reward every time she does what I like. I just had to make sure I buy the ones that don't have the lotion in there. So if she eats one, it's not a problem. And so to me, and I will say the science and the mechanics attracted me. What kept me there is obviously I like dogs. You end up communicating with the dog. And it's like you are communicating with an alien species. You're communicating with something that is not human. Oh, wow. And that is addictive. That is a rush. And you're not going to do that if you think all dogs are alike, obviously. Just like I'm not going to talk to you if I think you're just like every other person I've ever met, right? We're not going to have a good conversation. It's the same thing with the dog is you're going to look at, this one, again, Caffeine was a very unique dog. She was beating dogs in races when she was 14 years old.
Oh my goodness.
Buddha was Buddha. He was the same breed as her, but he was so chill and so laid back, and training him was great because he would look at you and be like, dude, it's going to be at 5 o'clock eventually, and you're going to feed me then. So why should I do anything for you right now? We had a Rottweiler who had a lot of fear issues, and getting through to him took a different path. The dog I have now, Freya, is the most pig-headed creature I have ever met. And I have to deal with her on those terms.
I love that they do all have their own personalities.
Yep.
We have a long-haired Chihuahua that is a racist towards one person. That's it. I'm like, it don't matter who you are, what color you are, you can come in here. But there's one particular human being that she just is no. I just, you know what? I just decided no.
Yeah.
And they're the friendliest person.
Yeah.
just like, nope.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your books a little bit here. You mentioned you're a programmer. And I'll ask you, how did you get from programming into writing and the training dogs? What was that transition like? Or do you still program?
So I don't know what I want to do when I grow up.
Amen.
I never figured that out. So I wanted to write when I was in junior high and high school. And I wrote a whole bunch of short stories. Never really wrote an entire book. I was a voracious reader. And there's a podcast that this guy interviews writers. And I noticed that almost every time he interviews a writer, they will mention how they read compulsively. And my sister's got more novels than I can imagine published. Also, she was a voracious reader. So I always wanted to write. It's actually more odd that I waited until 5 years ago to start writing fiction than becoming a programmer. So I finished high school. I had no discipline. I was probably on my way to jail. That's when I went into the military. And I kind of lost the thread on writing while I was in the military and got more immersed in technology. I repaired radars, and a big part of that was while I was in one of the main radars moved to microprocessors. It actually had the same processor as some of the home computers and video game arcade games, the Z80. That got me into programming. After 8 years, I couldn't handle the military anymore, got out, and I became a programmer. While I was coding, I started writing for technology books and technology magazines and blogs. Still doing that, actually. That pays a lot better than selling novels, let me tell you. Yeah. And then what happened was what happened to a lot of people, COVID.
Oh, no.
I had a lot of free time. And I start actually just before COVID was researching my grandfather's life story. Where in America, the Goebelbeckers, that's not Irish. My sergeant major, when I was up for E6, said Goebelbecker. Oh, a fine Irish name. And his name was Hofstetter, which also German. My grandfather, if you know military history, was at the Battle of the Somme fighting for the Germans. At the Somme, the British lost, don't quote me, 68,000 men in the first day.
Whew.
That's with World War I technology. That's a lot of single shot rifles, although the Germans had machine guns. My grandfather had been drafted, just like every male in the Kaiser's empire. He survived the Somme, was captured by the French, finally made it home, and our little one-horse town in the middle of Baden was a hotbed of what would become Nazism.
Oh, wow.
And he was having none of it. My aunt, just before she passed away after my father, hinted that the one story I found about a candidate for mayor in the town being assassinated, she kind of intimated that I might have known the guy who pulled the trigger. So he was involved in a lot of that violence. And if you're familiar with the Weimar Republic, it was insanely violent. And if you want to see a series about that, watch Babylon Berlin on Netflix. You'll think it's over the top. It's historical. It was
wow.
It was insane. Anyway, after the third or fourth time they tried to kill my grandfather, his father said, "You need to get the hell out of here," and sent him to the U.S. And then my grandmother came almost a year later with my father in diapers and my aunt and uncle, who were older, in tow. So I started researching his life story, thinking I would write about that. I'd probably have to be fictionalized, but my God, this
that
stuff
sounds
really
fascinating.
happened. And he didn't stop. There was also violence in New York City with the Bund, and he was almost killed in church by them over here. My grandmother used to say, "If you could just keep your mouth shut." But I looked at that and I'm like, this can't be my first. There's a long story. I apologize. This can't be the first book I write, right? This is just too much. And I was this was just before COVID hit, sitting in the New York Public Library. They have an amazing research section. I found the yearbook from my grandfather's reserve unit in World War I. They had a copy of it.
Holy God.
The New York Public Library is utterly amazing, the stuff
That
they
is
have.
crazy then.
And I was just like, I can't handle this. This is too much. I'm a rookie. And I don't know where the hell it came from, but I had this image of Orwell's Martian walkers in the trenches of the Somme. I'm like, that would be cool. And sequels to War of the Worlds is a genre. There are as many as you can possibly imagine out there.
I did not know that, actually.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the guys decide they want to write like him, more Victorian / Edwardian prose. That's just hard to read if you're not dedicated. I took the path of going modern. There's another guy who writes very modern, Stephen Baxter, that has like 20 books. And I just couldn't figure out how to get there. And it was during COVID that I started thinking about that and thinking, like you said in the get-go, where I really ended up attacking it was, rather than resetting War of the Worlds 20 years later in World War I thought, what would have happened after that invasion? And my first hook was, if you know the actual story, and if you've seen the movie from the 50s, which does a better job of it than the Tom Cruise flick, the Martians drop dead. They get the common cold and they drop dead, which again, COVID, right? What happened to all those toys? It's 1897 or so. They leave the walkers, they leave the ray guns, they leave the chemical weapons, and you got fun guys like the Kaiser and Tsar Nicholas running around. What would they do with that stuff?
Oh, that's very true.
I mean, the Kaiser made a run on Central America several times. And if it was finally
industrial age is becoming a thing at this point.
It was finally TR that smacked him on the pee-pee and said, "Get out of there, buddy." But that was one thought. And then I thought about that, and I'm like, look at where we are right now. Why is America where it is right now? 9/11. There's a lot of things that just don't happen without 9/11, including the guy in the White House right now. Does not happen.
Oh yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, and so that's what I took it as, is the Martian invasion as that kind of a pivotal, world-changing event, and said, what does the world look like? So I have William Jennings Bryan as the president. I have the Kaiser in much better shape than he was by the time World War I happens. I haven't gotten to Russia yet. If I ever write book 4, I'll go over there. I need a break. I started a new series, but to me, what would Japan have looked like, or China? To me, that's the fun thing. To me, it's all about alternate history. You throw on some ray guns, yeah, that's cool, that's fun. But there's some great authors that write alternate history that I really, really like a lot. And that's where I'm kind of coming from. There's a guy, Harry Turtledove, if you're into military stuff. He has us dropping a nuke on Korea, I think, is the start of one of his series, because MacArthur wanted to do that really badly. Either Korea or China. I'm old, I can't remember things. But yeah. But that's the long-winded explanation of where it came from. Is someday I'll write that book about my grandfather, and the main character, one of the main characters in the first book, is a thinly veiled version of my grandfather.
But that would be a fascinating story, I have to say. I love history, and even though I don't write history, I still love history. History's great because you learn a lot, like what you just said, the things that we don't know. Like I think most Americans, we've only skimmed over the top of what they taught us. Like we know something happened, people died, they had a little war, and then they just really emphasized World War II. But that is a fascinating history, especially what's going on behind the scenes that we as Americans don't really know. That can be just incredible to explore. In your writing, because I was looking at it and I found these books fascinating. So have you found that you're using a lot of what you've experienced from your military days, your programming days, into your writing? Has that affected your writing and how you write?
Yes and no. I mean, so the technology, the first book is kind of tech heavy, and some of that is based on what I learned in the Army about electronics. I was a radar repairman for Hawk, which I think Hawk is pretty much gone now, but you could think of Hawk as the granddaddy to Patriot, both Raytheon products. So the original book has a lot of cut scenes where the one character in the U.S. does a lot more stuff with tech that people told me, why is this scene here? And I'm like, because it's cool. And they're like, yeah, get rid of it. And I had to learn that with the first book. So there's some of that, some of the military stuff. Emil is a horrible, horrible soldier. He's the German character in the first book. And that would be me. I was a terrible soldier. Good at fixing radars after a while, but just never got into the whole keeping my uniform clean thing. There's some of that. Trying to think of what else. I will say what really the bigger thing from there is modern writing. What I really like about it is much more character driven than in the old days. Like you go and read Wells, it's very much and then. And even the stuff I grew up on in the 60s I read stuff from the 60s and the 70s, was very much plot driven. Starship Troopers is kind of plot driven. Fahrenheit 451 to a lesser degree, but it's still one of the greatest books ever written. Nowadays you need to get into character. That's what people want. So almost every character in that book is a composite of one or two people that I knew. And many of the soldiers' names are totally ripped from my past. And they like, I need a guy who talks too much. Oh yeah, him, that guy. I won't say who that is. So that I think more from interpersonal experience.
Gotcha.
I think is what you have to do. And I think that any fiction anybody writes is going to be influenced by who they are. If not, it's terrible, right? I mean, it's not.
Yes.
I mean, Kurt Vonnegut has a famous talk on YouTube where he maps out every story. And he says, this is the only story that there is. what makes them readable is the fact that that person wrote it and you didn't read their version of that story yet.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, he starts out boy meets girl. It's really, well, it's Vonnegut. Vonnegut's hilarious. But, Joseph Campbell's got the hero's journey. That's probably the outline for most stories. Over here in America, we've got Superman. Save the Cat. Save the Cat is a framework for stories that I kind of borrow from a bit. I think of the opening Superman where he saves the cat from the tree. That's how I remember things.
Oh, that is actually a good way to put that. That is pretty much true. I found that, I don't know, like writing my characters has been a little bit different journey for me because I used to be, as a young writer versus an older writer, I have found my style shift over the years and away from what I thought was the way to do it. Even though I read all the time, like I love King and Keats and a lot of those guys, and of course I read a lot of Poe, and just a lot of those had shaped me. But what happened was, as a young man writing, I also put my own spin on what I thought it was.
Right.
Now have a little better of an understanding of the craft more and how to really develop a character. Did you find your writing varying as you got older and how you approached a character?
Very much. The first book, I ended up working with a coach for the third draft. And I learned a lot from her. And like any other kind of coach or personal trainer or whatever, or mentor, you got to find somebody you mesh with, and that's what worked. And like I said before, learning how to shape a scene and if you are shaping a scene correctly, that's how you figure out whether or not you need it. Because if nothing changes, what's that scene there for? And a lot of what I learned about there is what makes a story interesting is that character arc. And I think I started learning about character arcs very late in life, probably watching Babylon 5.
Ooh.
Is when I finally understood what I was seeing. Like I knew I'd seen it. So I'm getting way off topic here, but the writer that really blew me away was Philip K. Dick. That's the guy who wrote what became Blade Runner. If people don't know who he is. And it just so happens to be right here, The Man in the High Castle.
Oh, man. Jeez.
Which the Amazon series is fine, but read the book. It's not that thick a book. It's only...
Oh, yeah.
Is it even 200 pages? Because this is kind of big old man print, too. 250. And that's another alternate history take, where we lose World War II. But what I liked about Philip K. Dick was his characters were tortured. His characters are kind of screwed up. And then at the end, they're, in his case, worse. But for many other authors, they're in better shape. And it was finally figuring out about that character arc. And I think what a lot of beginning writers do, you see this in fan fiction, you see this a lot in people doing their own comics, because I love comics too, is their character never has any problems and can fix anything. And it gets really boring. Because if they're not challenged, who cares, right?
Exactly.
And to be honest, Superman, right?
Yep.
The stuff they have to do to challenge Superman because he's so overpowered is kind of nuts. And the Superman comics when I was a kid were unreadable because they were just doing this wacky stuff. Then rather than saying, you know what, let's smack him around a bit and make him a little bit weaker, and then maybe we can have some fun. But that I learned, and even though I knew that going into writing that first book, I needed a coach to tell me, Eric, this is too easy. Eric, why is this even bothering? Why doesn't he just do this? You've yelled that at the screen. Just get out of the house.
What are we doing?
Yeah. So that, and I will say, the other thing that's happened is my books are getting shorter with each one. And I think they're getting tighter and more efficient. And again, Philip K. Dick, 200 pages. I'm reading Blake Crouch right now, an amazing author. And the book I'm reading right now is probably 150 pages. Only 50 pages in, and I feel like I have read the Odyssey. I mean, it's insane how much the guy packs in.
That is wild. Look, because I'm writing a series now, and I've never written a series, so this is my first one. So much so that I had to create a compendium so I could keep everything straight in this fantasy series. And I'm like, am I writing too much? Because I'm on the second book, and it's going to be way bigger than the first book. And I try to keep it compact, and like, I don't like to write just to see that I know words, and I can write words down. Like, they need to mean something to me before I put them down there. And I do worry about the length a lot because I know how big this one's about to be. And it's like, and I've already seen myself trying to self-edit while I'm writing. Do you self-edit while you write, or do you try to get through your first draft and then worry about that later?
I try to not self-edit, and I struggle with it, but I know that it's the right thing to do. But yes, and I think that's the skill that I'm still developing, is that fluency of just being able to say, forget it, and write. Watching my sister write, when I'm down there visiting them in North Carolina, I can see how she just wails it out, and then we fix it in revisions. And that's what's happening with this first book. Although I made the mistake of starting a Patreon, and I'm saying I'm going to publish a chapter every week. So now I have to have something at least good enough for Patreon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that. So in other words, yeah, write too much. And I'll say that's another thing that's changed now that you say that. With the first book, I was writing lean and then adding in revisions. Now that I'm getting better at not self-editing, I'm writing and then chopping stuff back out.
That's good. That's a skill I need to learn too.
That's something. Yeah. And it's weird because in technology writing, I do it the right way. I don't think about it and write through. See, I find fiction terrifying to write, because when you're writing about prose, you're writing facts. They're facts, right? I'm writing about how to write Python code for whatever the heck. There's only, there's more than one way to write a program, but even so, the facts are the same. In order to open a file, you do this. In order to read the file, you do that. All we can argue over is whether or not the part I put in you think is more important than the part you might have put in. But we're even in America in 2026, we tend to agree on facts most of the time. With fiction, it's very easy for you to say, "Oh, she would have never done that," And I find it harder to write, to make stuff up than to talk about reality. So yeah, what you need to do is, I'm sure you've read it a million times, is turn that inner critic off. Go ahead and write 10,000 words and chop it down to 6 later. Yeah, easy to say,
but so difficult
yeah.
to do. And let me ask you this, because this is important, because I get this all the time. I published 4 novels now, or I'm on my 5th one, and they're all different, but I enjoy writing. But people ask, like it's the easiest thing in the world to do. It's like, well, how do you come up with the story, and how can I write a book? Because you're popping them out, so it must be pretty easy. First of all, that's an insult. Second of all, what do you tell people when they say, how can I write a book? And how do you go about doing that? Where do I need to get started?
Just do it. I mean, without being glib. First of all, Seth Godin says this, don't wait for somebody else to give you permission. Right? I mean, like, the only thing that you possibly would need permission for would be writing about somebody else's characters and mentioning any music whatsoever, because I've never done it, but I've heard, oh my God, those lawyers are vicious. Right? Other than that, you can do whatever the heck you want. If you honestly feel you need help, I will say a coach worked for me. There's a million coaches out there. The one I was with, they're called Tenacious Writers, and they have a little Slack community that you can join and stuff like that. Find somebody that you are not related to and not planning on marrying to read your stuff.
Very true.
I'm not meeting with them tonight because I'm going out for my birthday, but I meet every other Thursday with 2 other writers, and we critique each other's work. And that has helped me immensely. And actually, just 2 weeks ago, I was really struggling with a chapter, and within the first 5 minutes of the Zoom call, they told me exactly what I was doing wrong. And you need that. You can't edit your own work, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it's never been easier. You're not going to make any money, but it's never been easier.
Yeah. Well, isn't that one of the big misconceptions you see too, or you hear from people is, man, you've written this many books, you must be rich.
Oh God.
Like, really? Is that what you think?
Nobody said that to me, probably because I hang out with older, cynical people. But yeah, I mean, even I got, you know, my sister traditionally published. She's got a ton of novels out there, and it was good for a while, and then it tails off. And the publishing industry is very much, what have you done for me lately? But you know, I mean, they're starting to sell. I will say, you probably have seen this too. When I put out the third book, the first one started selling. It's like, what's up with that? I think with a series, people don't want to start unless they know you're going to continue it, type of thing.
Yeah.
Which is why I just commissioned the third audiobook, because I'm hoping that'll pick up the audiobook sales. That I have 3 of them. But there's no reason to not try. And honestly, the stuff I see on Kindle Unlimited, my God, go ahead and write. You can't do any worse.
Well, that is so true. that is very true. And it's, I guess now because of AI writing, and you see this all the time, and it's so easy to, when you read it, it's like, okay, this guy's writing an instruction manual for fantasy instead of writing a fantasy book.
Right.
Have you read any of this stuff? It's crazy.
I haven't. I don't know if I've come off stuff that was explicitly AI. I tried KU probably a year ago now, because I was considering putting my books in KU, because when you hang out in the writer groups, there are people that say they make a lot more money. And I pulled down some fantasy and some science fiction in KU, and it was just awful. You know, and what I did is I went by the recommendations. Excuse me. And I've been buying books from Amazon since before it was cool. So I'm figuring they've got my history. They should know what to recommend to me. And it was just trash. So I've stayed wide. I'm available everywhere. And I have to say, sometimes my sales in Australia are bigger than over here. And England, because World War I is a much bigger deal over there than it is for us.
Oh, okay.
But AI writing, oh God, I use it for programming to a certain degree. And it is so bad sometimes. I can't imagine trying to use it again to write fiction where there are no rails.
That's right.
You know, like you will tell the AI, just add these 5 lines of code for me because you're too lazy. And it's like, okay, here's your 500 lines of code. It's like,
Like, what is this? What is this thing?
undo, Control Z. So yeah. I mean, it's. I think we're made to think when we're young that writing is hard, and I never thought it was. So I don't, there's no reason to hold yourself back. Give it a shot. Find some people to read for you. Go to Reddit. There's 1,000 Discord places where you can find help. Science Fiction Writers Association, I found just reading the conversations have been a huge help for me.
I need to do more of that for sure. It is one of the just toughest things when you're a writer sometimes is to go, you know what? Let's read and see how some of these other people are doing this thing instead of wandering out in the wilderness on your own, hoping you'll fall down a gold mine somewhere and just strike it rich with knowledge to write. But I found showing up is the only way I could get through my writer's block. Have you ever struggled with writer's block? And if so, how'd you get through that?
I don't know if I call it writer's block, but I've definitely struggled with, I can't remember who it is that I follow on Blue Sky that said, my house has never been cleaner than when I have a chapter to finish. In other words, we'll do anything. I wrote a program for the writers thing called Free Write last week because I was rather do that than work on this chapter I was struggling with. I guess that counts as writer's block. And you said it, sit down and do it. And I can't tell you how many times I've didn't want to deal with getting this character through whatever the situation was. Finally sit down, finally do it. And 10 minutes later, I'm like, oh my God, that was easy. Why did I put it off? And then 72 hours later, I am doing exactly the same thing. I need a trainer with a clicker and some liver, to try to get me to do it.
You can do it.
Yeah.
No, it's great. So what's on the horizon for you?
So I'm working on a new series that I just renamed 1,000 Lives Too Many, about an immortal character.
Oh, okay.
So Highlander, the movie, was a big deal for me. Was in the Army when that one came out. Saw it in German first. And I love that concept. The series was cool too, but one of the things that annoyed me in the series was too many damn immortals. Just like Superman comics, everybody's from Krypton. It's kind of boring now. So I have a series where, as far as you know, there's only one immortal. Hint, hint. And it's my excuse to write alternate history. So I can pick a point in history and say, yeah, he was there, and put my spin on what really happened. It started this first book, and it's actually up to chapter 12 on Patreon. He's at a witch trials in Germany in the 1500s. And there's two timelines. There's him reminiscing about being in this town in the 1520s. And he's also been captured by the U.S. government in our time, and they're trying to figure out why he's immortal so they can take advantage of that. So it's parallel storylines. And the idea for this one was, I knew I wanted to do this character. I thought of this character before even I saw Highlander as like a teenager. But I listened to a lot of history podcasts, and this history podcast talked about a book called the Malleus Maleficarum. I'm probably butchering that because I don't speak Latin. It was a guide on how to find and kill witches that was written by a very religious guy in the 1500s, and the Catholic Church took it to town. And I heard them talk about that book. I heard them talk about the guy writing it. It was like, oh, I want to be there. I want to write about this. So my guy is adjacent to that craziness.
I love that. First of all, I'm a huge Highlander fan as well. But it was Highlander that got me interested in history.
Well, that movie, with the way they cut between the scenes and all that, and that's, and what killed me was, I could go on for hours. That guy was an MTV video director. What was his name?
Yeah, which is so wild. Was it Panzer?
No.
BMS or Panzer did what?
I'll think of it later.
Yeah, now I'm trying to remember which one did which.
But that, and what got me about the series was, like, the early days of the series, they did that kind of thing. And then it got so wrapped up with immortal versus immortal, they forgot the history. And it was like, yeah, I've seen Paris, whatever, move on.
That's right.
I saw Paris in the 80s, boring. But that's what I want to do with this character. So I've got like 6 or 7 books already in my head, like at least the general outlines of where he's going to be, because he has to ride with the Mongols. I mean, come on. But that's where I am right now, is taking a break from the Great War of the Worlds. I will go back, I promise. I know people are going to be annoyed the way book 3 ends. But yeah, that's where I am. Is this book kind of touches on the witch burnings in one of my favorite cities when I was stationed in Germany. And also in this time, there's a really annoying billionaire that owns an electric car company that gets involved.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, just thought
that would be interesting.
Just thought I'd mention him. I had to go really deep to find another inventor to name the company, because there was an electric car company named Faraday already. That was annoying.
Really?
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah, me neither. But I don't want to piss anybody off. I forgot who I ended up going back to. Gallium? Maybe Gallium. Okay. Yeah. But you can tell I'm really working on the book every day. Cool. I wrote 4 blog posts already this week. I really need to get back to the book for tech.
a writer's mindset is so different too.
Yeah.
This is why I love talking to other authors, because everybody's so different in their process and how they work and how they approach their work. But it's always, at the end of the day, being able to get that book out there. How was it? And I know we're getting long here, but what was the feeling you had when you got your first one published?
The first one was kind of anticlimactic because it had been so long. And I had no followers. I had quit Facebook years earlier and then rejoined it in anticipation and all that. That was kind of anticlimactic. I think I got the first rush when I got a BookBub deal, BookBub featured deal. That was when things got interesting, and suddenly I had 20 reviews and all that. It was this releasing the second book that was a rush in terms of I got that book done in 6 months. Was still working full time when I did that. I'm not working a full-time job anymore, and got that one done in 6 months with a bike ride through Germany in the middle of that. Then the second one I got done in 7 months, and that was pretty cool because at that point I had some readers already on board. But another writer once said, "I don't like writing, I like having written." And there's something to be said for that, you know?
It really is.
Yeah.
Because I was curious, because I experienced the same thing with my first one, because it took me 14 years to do it. And it was like, oh my God, I'm so thankful this is over with.
Right.
And it's really not over with, but at the same time, I kind of hated it, because I was like, I'm supposed to be really, really happy right now and exuberant. And all I could think of was, thank God. Thank God this is done.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, with like the first time I did a 100-mile bike ride, the best thing was being done. And I think the books are kind of like that, you know. But I mean, it's in the process. Like when you get in that flow state, that's the best, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's, to me, it's all getting into that point, which is why I bought this free write thing. I don't know if you ever saw that, where it's an e-paper screen, a clickety-clack keyboard, and nothing. That is when I do my best, and before the dog's awake, because she stares at me very loudly. So, you know, getting that 45 minutes in the morning where I can bang out 1,000 words or so, I'm at my best.
Yeah, I agree. Eric, where can people follow you and find all your good stuff? You
unfortunately have to know how to spell Goebelbecker.
It's not easy.
Give it 60 years, you'll get used to it. EricGoebelbecker.com. If it's in your show notes or this or on the screen here, if this is video, that's my website. I made it easy. Eric, Facebook is E Goebelbecker is my Facebook author page, and I have a link tree. I guess if you search Linktree Goebelbecker, that'll come up where you can find my my websites. My books are available in more bookstores than I can name because I am wide. So Kobo, I am in the Kobo. I'm not in Kindle Unlimited, but I am in Kobo's monthly thing that I'm in, and I forgot the name of. All the overseas bookstores. I'm in the library. Go ahead, take my books out of the library. You can get it on Libby. I'm fine with that. And also audiobooks. Every audiobook store, the first 2 books in the series are there. The guy started recording the 3rd book yesterday, so that should be done by Labor Day. I'm not using AI. I'm paying a professional narrator who is also ex-military stationed in Germany. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I made a mistake with mine, and I regret it right now. So I'm trying to figure out a way around to redo everything. So I do understand that.
Well, you're indie, so you can change anything you want. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to worry to ask permission from some publisher. It's your stuff.
That is true. Are you indie? I didn't ask you that.
Oh no, I'm indie. I'm definitely indie. Yeah. Okay. I do not have the patience. Like I said, my sister's traditional with like 62 novels. Seriously, my younger sister has 60 novels. Woo. I got catching up to do. And from listening to her talk about it, and like she loves it, I would not handle it well. I'm too cranky. I'm too independent. I want to do everything myself. Amy it's like we're not even related. Amy loves having people do things for her and take care of it for her. But even so, if you are traditional published, you got to do your own marketing.
Yes.
So why not do it yourself and keep a bigger percentage?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I started using Ingram Spark for my indie stuff. I've been using Amazon. I'm trying to move everything over to Ingram.
Look at
I
Draft to
just wrote
Digital.
another one.
Draft to Digital.
Draft to Digital.
Yep, they are awesome.
I'm writing that down right now because I did not know they existed.
So I am using Ingram for my paperbacks. They are the best for paperbacks, which isn't saying much. Draft to Digital will do paperbacks for you through Ingram Spark. You just wait longer. But with Draft to Digital, you upload your file once, you write your metadata once, and like I said, I can't tell you everywhere my books are. It's crazy making. And including library. And Indie Author Secret, you make more money off a library borrow than you do a sale.
Did not know that either.
Oh yeah,
Brand.
I had a little spike. I had a little spike with some library somewhere. They must have featured me, and like all of a sudden, I had like $50 that month, which is a lot of money for starting indie. That's like wow, 5 cups of coffee. But Draft Digital is awesome, and like I looked at going direct to Kobo because you make a better percentage, but Kobo will only pay you 4 times a year. Draft to Digital, since they're getting paid, will pay you every month.
Gotcha.
I've spoke to other authors that went direct to Barnes and Noble, and it's easier to deal with the government than Barnes and Noble. Draft to Digital takes care of all that stuff for you.
Okay. I'm checking that out after this podcast is over with.
Yep.
But that's again something I did not know. And shoot, I even had my own little indie publishing company for a while until I got smartened up and thought, nope, this is not your area, buddy. You stay in your lane, and that's not it.
No, check them out. They also have a YouTube channel where they do weekly how-to tutorials.
Yeah.
And Zooms. So you can learn. I learned a lot just from watching their stuff.
I will definitely check them out. I know what I'll spend the rest of my evening doing. Man, Eric, thank you. This has been a pleasure for me.
Okay.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
And wish you all the success. I am going to order your books. I certainly look forward to this Immortal series.
Okay.
That sounds really cool to me. Thanks for being here, dude.
Thank you. I appreciate it. A lot of fun.
No, I appreciate it. I'm serious. I learned a ton just from talking. It's always good for me to talk to another author, and just that your vantage point makes me rethink a few things, and I'm glad of it. So it's wonderful. But I can't wait to read your stuff. I'm going to get your first book, so I want to read it and then get that series. But I am interested in it. I'll go check out your audio too, because I'm curious as to how you got those done. Did you independent audio?
So actually, if you go to the Patreon for real, I've been publishing the first book there for free also. You have to actually join, but not to pay, and you can listen to the audiobook. The way I did that was I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I went to Amazon, and they have the I forgot what they call it that authors join, the Amazon. I don't remember, but if you create an account there, they give you a way to find a narrator.
Yeah, that's right.
I found 3 or 4 narrators that I thought would work, and something about their terms bothered me. So I actually reached out to them outside of Amazon. They all have their own websites. And I found this guy, Stort. We talked back and forth, and he said, and I said to him, I really want to do this, but I don't want to be exclusive to Amazon. It's like religious for me. I don't want to be exclusive. And as a guy who hates copy protection and has his own Android listening device that doesn't do copy protection, and he goes, let's go to this other place, Spoken Realms. And I'm not even going to advocate for Spoken Realms. They're worth checking out. It's run by a narrator that got tired of the system and set up his own studio.
Oh, wow.
Stort, my particular author, records everything himself at home. He's a pro. He knows how to set the levels correctly. He has like a soundproof room and all that. And he records it for me. He mails me a chapter, whatever he's done, for me to approve. And then when he's done, he gives it to Spoken Realms. And just like Draft to Digital, they publish it everywhere.
Oh, okay.
And I get a check or PayPal every month if any of them sold. And I'm getting 50%.
Dang. Dang.
I'm getting 50% because I paid the narrator up front for his time.
Yeah.
You can also do a revenue deal with the narrator if you don't have the cash.
Gotcha. Yeah,
So,
that's kind of what I do on ACX a lot. So
ACX, that's what I couldn't think of. ACX.
ACX.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I didn't like ACX because again, like I don't buy my audiobooks from Amazon. I like Libro. I don't know if you ever saw Libro FM.
No, I haven't heard of Libro.
They have almost everything Amazon has, like maybe 2 months later. Like Tubi instead of Netflix, right?
Gotcha.
But you can download the raw MP3s and listen to them on any device.
I mean, that makes more sense
anyway. I'm old school. I want to listen to it. I'm talking on a Linux computer. I just don't do the copy protection stuff. I've got an Android audio device that with a special DAX because I'm snobby about my music. I want to put my audiobooks on this thing. So Libro, I like them. I pay $12.99 and I have that for the rest of my life. So to me, as a producer, I want to appeal to people like me. I mean, come on! If you're reading a sequel to The War of the Worlds, you're at least 40.
Oh yeah, well, there's very much so.
Yeah, so that's why I didn't want to go. I wanted to go wide with the audiobooks. So I found Stort and got very lucky with that. I mean, that's what you do. You just blunder around until you meet the right guy.
Well, that sounds like what I've done.
Yeah, that's what it is. None of us are born knowing this stuff, right?
No, and that's kind of one of the things I love about this podcast, the fact that I get to meet people with actual information and raw passion for doing stuff.
Yeah.
No matter what that passion is, and I love that.
Yeah, but I wanted to, I've got some money saved up, and I wanted to use a real narrator. And I think that what's going to happen the next couple of years is that's going to become a selling point.
I think you're right. I had my son was listening to the audio of this Black Ridge book, and he was just listening to it because it just came out, and he knew it was AI. I told him, I said, I'm doing AI on this one. First of all, because I want to see what this is going to be like. He said, it's not too bad. He said, but there are points in there where you just know that, yep, your dog's name is supposed to be Diesel, but on this one time he called him Diesel.
Wow.
Like, well, there you go. There you go. So it is things like that, but I like the human aspect of it. I just think I think you subconsciously pick that up more than anything.
I think you do. I mean, with me too, with Stort, again, it's weird. We're both veterans. He was Air Force that were in Germany, and my wife is German. Him too, and there is stuff in the German chapters, obviously, that German town names. And he nailed every one of them, right? Which most Americans probably wouldn't notice, but I definitely do. I mean, I also grew up hearing German, obviously, but that was kind of cool. So I got really lucky with him, and he's got I'm like, if you're doing military stuff, the dude's voice is like he's like James Earl Jones, right? I mean, like he can do that deep register, which I really wanted.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me, I don't know if I'll ever break even on those first 3 books. But I'm hoping that as you get more out, you get more volume, and people just respect you more. That you've done more books and all that. But I'm changing genres. We'll see what happens. I moved from science fiction to fantasy.
It's definitely a different thing.
Yeah,
I mean, those 2 genres are definitely different. But I don't know. I've done horror, science fiction, and fantasy, and it's just I don't know. I don't have a lane is my problem. Is because I like so much of it. Yeah. Like I like books of all kinds. So weird.
What's Black Ridge? Is that horror?
Black Ridge. So that one is about, because all the alien stuff is in the news right now, right?
Yep.
And so it's about that. It's just, but I have I try to have as much of a realistic view on it as you can.
Right.
Still dealing with science fiction a little bit. So
right.
We have the Men in Black in here, but they're not the comedy Men in Black from the movies. Like the Men in Black that you read about, that I grew up reading about, were kind of scary.
Yeah.
It's like, I probably don't want to meet those guys. That would be horrifying. So it's along that journey, and it takes place in Tennessee and the hills and all that hill country. So it's one of those mystery, thriller, science fiction type of thing.
Because the cover caught my eye. I wrote down the title already just because I saw the cover in the back.
Yeah, it's definitely the thing I've written for sure. But I'm trying to get better with each book. Yeah. I don't think it's one of those things where, like you don't rest on your laurels when you're writing, right? You're always trying to increase the quality.
Oh, absolutely. And my problem is switching from prose to fiction. Like 10,000 words of technical stuff Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I'm kind of empty. But it keeps me going. Like you said, yes, you definitely have to be thinking about what you're writing as you write, and trying to get better. And what I also measure is the other thing is I'm paying a real editor too.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the number of revisions she comes back with each book, I think, is going down. I think.
Yeah.
So that helps too. But pro writing aid and Grammarly is not enough. You got to pay a human to do it.
Yeah, you do. And I'm going to have to get me an editor. I already know. It's one of those things I just haven't taken the leap yet.
Yeah. But
I'm starting to get to where my mindset is you got to take this more and more seriously as far as really putting in all the extra stuff I really need to do, and not just say, I've edited myself. A couple of my friends and people I know who do this thing have edited. It needs to be a really professional job. Yep. And that has been my big struggle, has been making that commitment to do it. Because my view was it's always going to be indie. I know how tough that is, and it's always tough to catch a break and really sell something major. But at the same time, if you're not out there putting forth your best effort, why do you even expect to?
Right.
So changing my mindset on that a little bit, that's really the big key here, I think.
I think that the other thing I didn't say, the other way I get motivated is I pay with Sarah, you have to reserve a spot. She's editing multiple authors. So I have to tell her I'm going to have it September 6th. And then to reserve the spot, give her 1/3 up front. Well, now I have a deadline.
Oh, yeah. That is true.
And from my programmer days, like the one guy I worked with for years knew that the only way I was going to get it done was if he gave me a hard deadline. Otherwise, I'm sitting there playing Half-Life, or taking long lunches, helping out the networking guys, because I'll do any job but my own, that kind of thing. So he had to give me a hard and fast deadline. Same thing with writing. You have to, it's very new agey, but you got to figure out how to hold yourself accountable.
And I meant to ask you this: was anybody ever surprised when they found out you were a writer?
Oh, all the time. Like,
were they like, oh, really? Is that you do that?
Well, okay. The guys I worked with, no. Because I would help write the docs, and like the guy that I was talking about that I worked for, his wife was the head of documentation. I would be helping her out all the time and all that. But what's funny is when you're dog training, and like I'll tell them, I went to a really cool conference a couple of weeks ago, and I had to tell them I won't be here Saturday, and they said, "Oh, really? What are you doing?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to a sci-fi conference." Like, "Oh, you're a sci-fi fan?" I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm selling books." What? The dog trainer writes books? Like, yes, they don't roll me into the back room and lock me in the closet at night. I actually go home. Yeah, I do stuff.
It's always funny because I'm a pro wrestler. So when my first book came out, everybody's like, "Dude, you write?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm not a caveman." I mean, I realize I play one in the ring, but I can form a sentence. So don't be too surprised there, buddy. I can do some things, but it's always funny to me that tone of surprise when somebody reads something, especially after they read it and go, "Dude, you really wrote this?" I'm like, what? Come on, man, give me some credit here.
I have to ask my son if he knows you, Big Daddy Storm.
I doubt it. I'm more regional.
Oh, okay, because
I've never made it to the big time because kind of I've been doing it for 30 years, but I always chose family over going out on the road because I had an option to go a long time ago to get down with WCW back when they were still in business and all that. And I was like, I've got 2 small kids and there is no way I'm leaving my house because you don't have a family when you do that business.
Well, no, on the road and all, I can imagine kind of like same idea with like touring with
I love my kids, so I'm like, nah, I'm not,
Because I know my son is the English teacher that's into wrestling and video games. So
There you go.
But there you go. It runs in the family. I was Army and programming, but my sister's an author and my son's an English teacher. So.
I personal train my chiropractor. We trade out. She helps keep me wrestling, and I help keep her upright. And so we're doing this, and I'm like, he said, you know what you ought to do? You ought to write a smut book, but do it in your horror style. I'm like,
cool.
I probably could. She said, no, I'm serious. I think you could. So I wrote 4 of these things.
Yeah.
Not big, thick books. But I came back. She said, well, I said, I did it. And I showed it to her. I said, here's the thing. I found out that I just can't write trash books. I have to have a story with my books. So here they are. And so she's reading them right now. I haven't even promoted these things yet because I want to know if they're even worth doing it. That's why I wrote them under my pseudonym, under my wrestling name, instead of put them under my name. But I just thought it was so funny to be able to do something and how much work it was just to do it.
Where'd you get the cover for the Krampus one? Because it looks really good to me.
Dude, that is AI. That's just AI.
Really?
That's all that is. Now, it took me a while to get it right because I think like with any good tool, you have to hone it. You can't just go, do this. Yeah. There it is. So it took me a couple of hours to sit there and really get. Now, what I do is I Photoshop my stuff, kind of get what I want, then I feed it into it.
Right.
And then I start making my edits out of it. But yeah.
No, because that looks like a very pulpy, cool cover.
Yeah. And that's what I wanted was that pulp style from when we were kids. Pulp magazines. Yeah.
That's very cool.
So it's definitely interesting.
Yeah, this is cool. This is very cool. My bike riding partner is wondering where the hell I am. So.
You gotta go get on that bike, buddy. Well, I appreciate it.
Thanks.
I've been recording this whole time. I may put some of the stuff we've been talking about in there too, because that's some good information.
Yeah. Check out the Patreon. It's free, by the way. So you can.
I'll go to your Patreon page and we'll get that put out there. I will have all your links in the thing below. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope we can talk again in the future.
Absolutely.
I wish you all the success, dude. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'll see you around.
Thanks, brother.
Bye.
Bye. Eric Goebelbecker. I hope I got that right this time. Guys, what you talking about informative? First of all, a lot of stuff I learned today I did not know. And there's if you take nothing else away from this, by the way, never worry about learning new stuff because you should always be growing and learning. But Eric is a lot of fun. That's talking about a lot of experience and the things he's got and his journey from the military to programming to writing, training dogs. I mean, that's a man after my own heart right there who just does all these other things. And now he's an author. He shared his journey with us on that. Go check his book out because I'm about to. He's got 3 already published in the War of the Worlds series that he's got that takes place after the War of the Worlds. You heard him talking about it. And this new series he's got coming out, I'm a Highlander fan, so let's go. That's going to be a lot of fun. Follow him on his socials. Give these guys your support because out here, it's a struggle for everyone. But I tell you, some of the best things you're going to read comes from a lot of these authors you've never heard of. So go give Eric your support. I know we are here at the FAFO Podcast. Speaking of the FAFO Podcast, you've been listening to the FAFO Podcast. Facts, truth, no BS. Let's have a go. I'll see you guys next time.
4 on the floor, have a tank of gas. Does he boots on the wood, let the whiskey pass?